Welcome to Shining the Light, the podcast, the show where we shine the light on how Black greatness and excellence impact the world with the intent to inspire and educate those aspiring for success in their respective spaces. We do so by inviting special guests. My name is S.E. Wallabo, and my guest today is one and the only Ralph Williams III. Some call him Stagger. I believe a lot still call him that.
Yes.
We'll find out. He's a father, husband, entrepreneur, and artist. Wagwan, my brother, how you doing, man?
Brother Sonny Wallabo, how are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing the best I can, man.
I can see you're looking good. You're looking good.
Yeah, man. So how's family?
Family's good. I mean, the girls are next door. Mm-hmm. They're trying to keep it. They wanted to be in the interview. They're like, yeah, we want to be in the interview. We want to say something.
It'd be good to see them, but maybe next time or so, right?
I know. They make videos themselves. So
wow, that's wonderful, man. That's wonderful. Yeah. So how have you been dealing with this pandemic life? Looks like we can see the light at the end of the tunnel now. I know they're beginning to roll out some vaccine, but I have faith in God that He is for us, and I totally believe in science, though.
100%. I mean, I'm with you. I think there's a disco light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
There's going to be a strobe light. Hopefully, we're going to be able to celebrate. Let loose a little bit. I think a lot of people in England. Mm-hmm. I know definitely in England, a lot of people are. People are caged in. They're quite anxious. Mm-hmm. I'd say people are quite anxious. The mood on the street is a little bit anxious. Mm-hmm. In terms of like all the lockdowns and the frequency. Because I mean, like we're 1 year into it now. And I remember when it started, we thought it was going to be 3 weeks.
Man.
Yeah.
So, but people are responding. People are wearing their masks and, distancing. People are just sort of kind of getting used to.
It's I'd say it's a combination. Mm-hmm. You have. It's almost like Brexit. Like half of the country believes in masks, half of the country doesn't. Honestly, so it's like you find people. I mean, friends and family. I mean, I've been having these conversations over the last year, where some people believe in what's going on. Some people, say, look, we need to just keep everything locked down. Other people just, they've got their own theories. There are a lot of theories that are flying around at the moment, I think.
And so what did you take away from the 2020? Because this whole thing started in 2020. I mean, at that time we were all caged in for the most part, right?
I think we were told that we were working from home when actually we've been living at work. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what it seems like to me. It's like, I mean, for me, it was tricky. It's tough because, like, I run a couple of businesses that, I'm self-employed. So obviously time is my most precious commodity. That's the biggest luxury that I have. And time was very, very limited over the last year.
Right.
And I think one of the main things that was difficult for me was homeschooling. Whoa. I'm sure a lot of the parents.
I'm doing that myself.
Exactly. Homeschooling was tough. So it was just trying to get a balance of work life, home life, and school, and then trying to do that while staying in the confines of a home, with like, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. It's difficult. 2 adults and 2 children. It's hard work.
Right. You're doing a great job, man. You're doing a great job, man. I saw you with your boy the other day. I'm like, man, he just looked like you, man. He's catching up with.
I'll be honest. He's probably what I'm most proud of, because like Leonard's 21 like this year.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I can't believe that I'm like the father of a 20.
Like,
no, I mean, honestly, it's overwhelming sometimes, but it's good because, like, I mean, he's got his own challenges. He's at university. They've had to social distance and isolate, and so it's been tough. The whole of last year, he had to actually come home. And they were just doing online classes, so it's been hectic.
You're doing a great job, man. I always admire people who taking care of their families, so
Yeah,
because
yeah,
there's a lot of
yeah,
people out there who are not really, doing the job.
yeah.
So
And it's funny you say that. Like somebody said something the other day. He said,
mhm,
now that when you get into your 30s
mhm,
and in your 40s, you
mhm,
realize that some of those drunk uncles back in the day weren't just drunk; they were frustrated because of the cards that life had dealt them. You know,
right,
and like you grow up and you realize that you're a bit more human than you thought you were. You know how everybody thinks they're invincible when they're 20 or 18.
right,
You grow
right,
up and you realize that life actually happens. These things do happen to people. So you just have to just keep your head down and try not to judge. That's what I
right,
try to
right.
do.
Let's just get right into it, man.
Let's go. Let's
Let's
go.
talk what's going on over there in the UK. Um, Rob,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Megan knew what she was getting into. But I guess love can make you blind sometimes, right? So at this point, after Megan's statement about her son being the color
Yeah.
shy of whiteness,
Yeah.
is it fair for me? Is it fair for you? Is it fair for somebody else to say the royal family is racist?
That's the question which has been flying around the
Yeah.
media,
I mean, you
social
can tackle it
media,
the way you want it, so
everywhere. I mean,
yeah.
that's been the hot topic ever since the interview.
Hmm.
Um, Here's my take.
Hmm.
I think um, I think Meghan Markle underestimated the what's the word? The depth
Hmm.
of what she was getting into, you know?
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think that if you're coming from a background where maybe, you know, in America you're a celebrity or you're considered as a celebrity,
Hmm.
um, it's slightly different. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the the celebrity world and then the world of aristocracy is two different worlds. And they actually don't really meet. And I think in America you can Trump became president. He technically in America you can make your fortune and become president. You know,
Right. Right. Right.
and I don't want to offend any Americans, but like you can almost not buy your way into society, but
Hmm.
having money in America can take you a lot further
Right.
than let's say here in the UK. Because in
Okay.
England, if you have money, yes, you can have money, but
Mm.
that doesn't mean that you have access.
Mm.
You see, money doesn't equal access into the types of circles that she was getting into. It's not like I'll give you an example. Like David Beckham, he's very wealthy.
Hmm.
Made his fortune in his lifetime. He
Right.
he 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 doesn't have that type of access, even as big as he is, because it's a completely different world. It's not to do with how much money you just made, or it's all about pedigree. It's almost it's all about tradition, and I think she bit off a lot more than she could chew. That's just my take. I don't think she understood like what that world actually means, the world of aristocracy
Mm.
and how it operates. Even if you look at Diana, she had problems, you know,
Hmm.
and she was considered as yeah, you might say a commoner, but like she came from like a well-to-do family, so
Mm.
it's a class thing, you know. I think more than, and I think Megan probably naively thought that she could come in and the world that she was coming from would have like a type of bearing or some sort of influence into the world that she was going into.
Mm.
And no, it doesn't work like that.
So it's hard to penetrate this institution. Hmm.
Yeah, for anyone. I think it would be difficult for anybody, you know.
Yeah.
And then I think on top of the fact that yeah, I mean, like the royal family, they're what, 1,200 years deep. Like I don't know
Hmm.
how many generations they've been
Hmm.
going, but like everything that they stand for is what came before them. Now, if you're gonna come in and try and challenge that, you're
Mm.
you're a threat. So they're
Mm.
not gonna want to, you know, you're not
Would
gonna
you say
fit
this?
in there.
Yeah. So would you say the foundation of this institution, though,
Mhm.
is racism or racist?
Well, I mean, if you look at the fact that
Mhm.
the royal family.
Mhm.
Okay, the British did not invent slavery, but they definitely monopolized the triangular trade. They created the triangular trade.
Mm.
You know, um, John Hawkins, if I'm not mistaken,
Mm.
was actually sponsored by Queen Elizabeth.
Mm.
She funded his expedition. So,
Mm.
the royal family has a history of
Mm.
funding excursions that were about enslaving and capturing people
Mm.
to sell them for profit. Now, if you know that you're getting into a family that, I mean, I'm not saying that the current members, obviously they're not slave owners, but you
Right,
know
right, 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 right.
that's
We're
what they
not saying.
stand for. We know what they stand on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean,
Mm.
what they built that that empire on was racism. It was built on colonialism. It was built on slavery. The justification for that was racism, because slavery was an economic endeavor. But to justify doing that,
Mm.
you had to demonize the people that you were going to be trading. Otherwise, it was not going to work. If you all of a sudden considered these people as actual people, then you wouldn't be able to sell them as slaves, would you?
Right, 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 right.
So yes, I think that the foundation of the whole monarchy is quite racist.
Right.
But to answer the question in this respect,
Uh,
you know, would I say the Queen is racist? Hey, hey, who knows? I think Prince
yeah,
Philip is. If
yeah.
I'm being honest with you, Prince Philip, I think, is probably the most racist out of all of them. That's just my opinion, and
Mm.
that's based on what he has said himself, like in the media.
Mm.
All you have to do is just Google Prince Philip gaffes or Prince Philip racist quotes. There's millions of them,
Mm.
and this
Mm.
is stuff that he felt comfortable saying. You know, so maybe in his head he doesn't even think he is.
Right. But as far as the queen is concerned, what you are saying, you're saying sometimes she gets out of her boundaries to do things that are not actually racist, right? She's doing some good stuff sometimes, right? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, look,
Mm.
I personally am not a big fan of the monarchy.
Right.
Um,
Mhm.
and the reason why I'm not is more because of what they represent. I have nothing against them, or
Right.
like who they are. I think they're
Mm.
probably nice people if you met them, but
Right.
no, I don't think that like I'm not surprised that
Yeah.
she came up
Yeah.
against that. I don't know why she's surprised. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know what she thought she was gonna find. You know,
Right. Right. Right.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, like think about it. These are people who at one point, you know, 80% of the earth was
Mm.
under their control. So even if they're not racist, they're definitely going to be a bit snobbish. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like
Right.
they're not like that's what I mean. Like I don't even think it's so much particularly a race thing. I think they're just like that
Right.
with anybody, but it
Right.
doesn't help. Like
Right.
that, she's an American, she's an actress, she's. I
Yeah.
don't think any of that helps because look at the history with I can't remember the one who married Wallace Simpson, who
Yeah.
abdicated the throne.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
didn't like her because she was an outsider. She was an American. She was a divorcee. So these things, I think these things all they don't work in your favor when it
Right.
comes to the royal family.
Right.
And I just think she was brave to
Right.
try and crack that nut. That's what I think. I think
Right.
she was brave.
So we know that the snake, like I mentioned, the snake called racism is everywhere, right? But a lot
Yes.
of us outside, we don't know what's going on. We know, okay, Britain, we know racism is there, but we don't know how damaging this whole
Yeah.
thing is. So please talk about this institutional racism in schools, at work and so forth.
I mean, for me, um, I was born in England, and
Yeah.
like I started school here,
Hmm.
and my grandparents came from Jamaica in the 50s. My mom came from Botswana in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So their experience obviously was my experience was different to theirs.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I remember, I went to a school called Oakfield Prep.
And we're gonna get
So
to your background very soon here, right?
okay,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So this is one of the things I remember actually.
Mm,
And like I was about 4
mm,
because my first year of school.
mm,
Um, so the headmaster, his name was Mr. Me. he called my name on the register. So, like my first name is Ralph, but I've always ever used Sipo. Like I've never used like my family here, my family in Botswana, everybody calls me Sipo. It's like, the Jamaican side, the Botswana side. So at school, he read the register and he was like, Cypher Williams. So I was like, Cypher. So I was like, I'm not gonna answer. So he said it about 2-3 times. So I didn't answer. And then he said, why didn't you answer? And I said, well, because my name's not Cypher. And he said, it is because P and H phonetically is the sound is F. And, your name is Cypher. And I said, no, it's Sipo. And he said, no, it's Cypher. And I actually got into trouble. So this is like when I was first year of primary school. And I was like, in my school, I was one of like three black kids. So so imagine I was like, 4 or 5 years old, being told what my own name was. And I said to him, I said, no, that's not what my name is. This is how you pronounce it. So that's the first kind of institutionalized or systemic type of racism I faced. And I was at school.
Wow.
And I was at a private school as well, like an expensive school that, your parents think they're doing their best by sending you to these private schools. Sometimes that's where you get some of the worst racism in school.
Wow, man, that's tough. That's tough. So as a black person in the UK, how do you prepare your children in a world where no matter how much you work, right, somebody will always look down upon you? How do you prepare them against the racial slurs? Or you just tell them that you know what, you got African roots. You are great.
Okay, this is how I raise my kids. Like first of all, I teach my kids to respect everybody, and that what they should do is just treat everybody how they want to be treated. Treat them with respect. That's the first thing. Yeah.
Love that.
And then you see, because of the fact that I come from two very different cultures, Botswana and Jamaica, just so completely different. I'm used to kind of like I'm quite accepting of different types of cultures, so I don't really have a problem with people from different cultures, because it's just something that I've been exposed to my whole life. Difference. Right. So with my kids, I actually try and raise them to be as confident as I can, and just to be positive. And fortunately, they haven't really experienced anything where I could say, they've had like a racist experience, or so I don't insulate them from it, but I don't want to put it in their head so that it's something that they fear. Like I would rather counter it by just trying to give them as much confidence. Like I teach them a lot, and I like they read. Fortunately, they're into that kind of stuff, and I just keep them connected with their roots, their culture. And I think that really helps. I think it's very difficult to disrespect a person that knows where they're from and what they're about. Right. It's hard. Right. It's like you can't make an educated man a slave. So that's what I try and do. That's the weapon I try and give them. Just knowledge. Knowledge of self.
Ralph, I thought about I shot the Sheriff by Bob Marley. I mean, you are an artist. You are a musician. In 1975, he elaborated that the sheriff was a metaphor for wickedness and can be interchanged with any oppression you are facing at the time. Yes. Or even Tupac talking about trapped, where he references the systemic oppression that prevents the oppressed from climbing out of poverty, right?
Yeah.
Or even your boy, James Brown in Say It Loud, I'm black.
I'm black and I'm proud.
And I'm proud. So talk about the power of music as a tool of liberation and hope, my brother.
Music to me is one of the most powerful things in the world. My dad was a DJ, so him and my uncle, they used to DJ. They had a sound called Wizard Sound, so they used to play in Brixton, all over London.
Wow.
And
so you've been in music for a long time, man.
Yeah. I used to DJ myself. Like I actually started DJing here
Yeah,
in
yeah.
in like the early 90s.
Okay.
And music is just something that I've always grown up with.
Mm-hmm.
And especially like music has taught me a lot.
Mm.
Like my granddad used to play a lot of Burning Spear. So I learned about people like Marcus Garvey through Burning Spear. My
Yeah,
dad actually introduced me to hip hop.
I
Like,
went to see Burning Spear a couple of times in Long Beach, man.
okay,
So I was
Winston
like,
Redden, yeah.
okay.
That's proper, you see.
Yeah.
Like like my dad introduced me to hip hop music.
Mm,
Like he gave me Eric B and Rakim,
okay.
KRS-One. This is
Hmm.
like when I was like 11, 12.
Right, right.
So he's the one who actually gave me that stuff. So I went out and I was listening, and then I wanted to learn. So when I was listening to stuff like KRS-One,
Mm,
Rakim, Public Enemy, they would
mm,
talk about all these different people, and I
mm.
love history. So I
Right.
would then go out and then say, okay, who's Huey P. Newton? Okay, who's Angela Davis? Who's
Right.
Malcolm X? Da, 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 da. So that's how I got into music. Got me into actually, like, it really got me into researching my own history.
Yeah.
You know, and I think in terms of the power of music, I mean, just look at a song like I was listening to the Survival album today by
Okay.
Marley.
Yeah.
Like a song like Zimbabwe, you
Yeah.
know, that's a song that the liberation fighters used to actually, that used to hype them up when they went out to
Right,
fight.
right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right, 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 right,
You
right.
listen to songs like,
I I remember when I think it was it in 1980 when he went to Zimbabwe and
exactly, yeah,
the whole of
yeah,
Southern
yeah,
Africa descended in Harare or so,
yes.
right?
You see, I mean, songs like Babylon System.
Babylon's just yeah, right.
Like the lyrics. I mean, that song, that album came out in 1980. It's
Yeah.
2020.
20. Mm-hmm.
Many of the things that he was talking about are still things that are affecting our people and poor
Mm,
people in general.
mm, mm,
Um, I mentioned Public Enemy. Fear
mm-hmm.
of a Black Planet came out in 1990.
In 1990, yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's 2020. Many of
Mm,
the things that they're talking about
mm.
are still relevant. So that's why I
Very
listen to it.
relevant.
You
Yeah.
see, I listen. I like
Mm,
listening to a lot of that stuff because it keeps me. I think it keeps me in touch, and it
right.
keeps me grounded.
Right. Even in the music industry right now, they still systemic racism. So, what are some of the best practices for conscious artists to get their message across and even deep? You know.
I'll tell you a story.
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna mention the guy's name, but
Mm,
I once had a meeting here in London with
mm,
the head. He was the former head of like one of the major labels.
mm,
So somebody had passed him my CD,
mhm,
and he said, uh, I'd like to meet you. We'd like to talk. This is before I shot the video.
mm,
And just for some background, I mean, I did the CD with Bissau. Like Bissau funded
mhm,
it. It
mhm,
was all independent. We shot
mhm,
the video independently.
mhm,
So I had a song on the CD called Be Black,
mm,
and it was a very political song.
mm.
And to be honest with you, I would have made the whole album like that. I wouldn't have made, any of those kind of cheesy. The song that everybody likes is I didn't even want to perform that for about a
Right,
year.
right,
I used
right,
to hate the song, but
right.
people like it, so you have to give the people what they want.
Yeah.
But
Mm,
I'm more militant in terms of what I
yeah.
wanted to do in terms of music. So I had
Right.
this song called Be Black, and it basically talks about, you know, systemic oppression,
Mm,
and I call out some things specifically, and
mhm,
I vocalize certain things specifically,
mm,
and you know, I'll never forget it. He called me to his so I went to meet him at his apartment. He had a nice apartment in Notting Hill,
mm,
beautiful place. He's
mm,
like, yeah, I heard your album is great, it's really good. We love this track, like the track with samples Cool in the Gang. Like we
uh,
love that. Da, 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 da. And he said, but there's a problem. And I knew what he was gonna say. I
right.
said, what's the problem? Because yeah, the last song, yeah, I don't think I don't think that's I don't think that's where we want to take it. And I was like, why? He's like, well, because we don't really think there's a market for that. And I thought,
Wow. Wow.
now here's a man telling me
Uh,
that there isn't a market for my observation, what I perceive as my truth, or what I mean. It's just an observation.
mm,
He shut it down completely. He said, look. if we're gonna do something, we can. But we're not gonna be able to move forward if you're gonna do that track. So I said, you know what? Thanks for the meeting, but
Wow.
cool. That's
Wow.
that. So I just said no, I'm okay. But he made it very clear. He said, if I do something with you, we can't have music like that. And it's funny because I remember like maybe 5 years later, I
Mm-hmm.
was doing radio in Botswana. I was at Duma FM.
Yeah.
So this is like when Barack became president. I managed to get an interview with Russell Simmons
Mm.
through a friend of ours,
Mm.
Lesotho Matare. So
Okay.
I actually asked Russell. I said, "You, your label put out Fear of a Black Planet in 1990.
Mm-hmm.
We've just had, Barack Obama become president of the
President.
United States. This is a
Right.
day after he became president." And I said, "Do you think conscious music is ever going to come back in again?
Mm.
And if not, why not?"
Mm.
And he didn't really, like, I mean, the answer he gave was that, how can I put it? He basically said that it's not that it really went away, it's just that it's not getting the attention that it deserves. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So
Mm.
I was actually pleased that he actually said that.
Mm.
But that's always been my kind of feeling that, if you think back to the early 90s, we're
Mm.
talking Poor Righteous Teachers, Brand Nubian, X Clan. It was very uplifting, very positive. De La
Very positive.
Soul,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
all
Yes.
all of the music was very it was uplifting. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It was
Mm-hmm.
yes, there's always been like, I mean, KRS One's first album was called Criminal Minded. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So there's
I
always
remember
been like,
that.
yeah, Coogee rap. It's not like gangster rap came and it just destroyed hip hop. It's always been there because it's
Mm.
just a reflection of what's happening anyway.
Of
But
what's happening. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
predominantly, the music was positive and it was uplifting. Even if
Right.
you listen to like even the women in hip hop, like from the
Mm.
very first women, and it was all positive. It was all like, Moni Love, Queen Latifah,
You remember
Muhammad
that?
Dia,
I remember.
and like no one had their not that I've got anything against anybody with their clothes off or shaking what their mama
Mm.
gave them. There's a place for everything, but I'm just saying that the
Yeah.
predominant um the art form predominantly was an uplifting type of art form.
Right. Right.
And I think, I personally, this is just my personal feeling, I think that yes, labels do. I mean, artists have said it themselves that labels say to them, you
Mm.
know, we need more guns, we need more weed, we need more alcohol, you
Mm.
know, we just need more of this ignorant stuff. And
Mm.
like, people are told that that's what sells,
Mm.
when in actual fact there was a time when conscious music was 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 popular. Do you know what I mean? That was what was selling. Public Enemy was selling 2 million records.
Right.
All these conscious groups, they were selling records. It's not like they weren't selling records, and they weren't getting any radio play. So this is why the music was so much more powerful. But then if you fast forward from 1990 to 2000, we have the formula. You know what I mean? Every
Mm.
single song has to fit the 8 bar hook, 16 bar verse formula. Every video has to have a woman shaking, even if it's got nothing to do with shaking your
Mm.
ass. And
Right.
it looks to me, I don't want to sound like the old guy, but I am old now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It
Mm-hmm.
looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's what I think, and I just think that
A lot of
you know
wisdom, though. Mm-hmm.
yeah, but like from what I've seen. Remember, I've been listening to hip hop music since I was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more than 30 years of
Yeah.
listening to it. And what I have definitely observed is that
Mm.
is definitely there is, obviously whatever sells is what's going to be promoted,
Mm.
but
Mm.
they're not promoting anything else.
Mm.
I mean,
So.
look, you remember? Sorry to interrupt. You remember like
Mhm.
when Erica Badu came out? Okay,
Right. 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 Right.
when Erica Badu came out, it was
Mm.
her, it was Lauryn Hill, it was a
Mhm.
whole wave of
Mhm.
people like her,
Mm.
Lauren, Jill
Mhm.
Scott, Angie
Mhm.
Stone. And
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with having your Trinas, your Little Kim, and your Foxy Brown, but you need balance in life.
Yeah.
You can't
Mhm.
just have, we can't just have sugar, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need we need and we can't just be dancing all the time
Mm, mm,
because like we're living in serious times. Sometimes we need to sit down and think. Sometimes
mm,
I think that's what's missing, like the variety.
mm,
We're just being fed the same type of
mm,
um stuff.
mm.
That's just my take on it in terms of the music.
So if you were in Botswana, not in the UK,
Hmm.
making a music, what kind of music would you make right now?
I'm glad you asked that question.
Hmm.
Um, One thing that really, really upsets me
Hmm.
is that, sometimes I hear artists in Botswana and they say things like,
Hmm.
the government is not helping us.
I hear that.
They cry a lot.
Hmm.
When I did what I was doing,
Hmm.
nobody helped us.
Hmm.
Nobody even gave us a chance.
Hmm.
We had to spend a lot of money and a lot of time ourselves to
Hmm.
actually make that happen. It was all done independently. Now that's
Hmm.
the first thing. People are lazy. They
Hmm.
want things to be done for them. That's number one.
Hmm.
If you are an artist, especially a hip hop artist,
Hmm.
why are you even thinking about the government? Do you think any of them rappers in America,
Hmm.
if they had to rely on the government, there'd be no hip hop. Hip hop is anti-establishment.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? It's
I'm
it's
glad you
about
said
it's
that. Yeah.
no, it is. It's not about conforming. It's about calling out what is wrong. Now
Right, right, right.
this is what this, to me, and this is what I think is missing.
Mm,
Like if you look at dancehall music. If there's
mhm,
a hurricane, there's going to be
mhm,
a tune called Hurricane. If
mhm.
if there's an earthquake, you know, they make songs about what is actually happening. If they talk about politics, they talk about social stuff. I think
Mm,
that's what's missing in terms of music in Botswana.
mm.
People are not. I don't know whether people are scared to vocalize, and I don't mean that you should say things and condemn or attack or be rude. But
Right.
art is about commentary. It's about social commentary. You should be able
Mm,
to speak up. Like we have so many different um, crises in Botswana.
right,
We have gender-based violence. Okay,
right.
we look. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was HIV/AIDS.
Mm,
Right now, we have a problem. We got women are not safe. Children are not safe. Where are the songs? Where is the where, where's the where are the poems? Where is all that? Everybody's just talking about getting drunk and getting high, and I don't know. I don't know. I just feel that there's so much stuff that they could talk about, but they don't.
I like that. I read your post this morning, man. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Um, talking about democratizing the music industry. You know, and I thought that would be helpful to people who are making music right now. So can you talk a little bit about that? Especially I don't know if people who are in Botswana, they understand this crypto and blockchain thing. So
Um, it's funny. I
yeah,
sometimes I post about cryptocurrency, and a lot
yeah.
of people think they're like, "Stagnar Urixa blockchain." I mean, Urixa Bitcoin. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not even. I just did a degree in economics. I have a
Right,
passion for finance,
right, right.
but
You understand economics, yeah, basically.
yeah, the basics. But like,
Mm,
look at the world around us. It's
mm,
changing.
mm,
Like, I mean, the World Economic Forum um, theme,
mhm,
like for the next meeting, is the Great Reset.
mm,
And the Great Reset is, in a nutshell, it's the switch from analog to digital.
mm,
You know, in terms of the banking system, like we're
mm,
going from the old days of Swift, which is quite archaic, even though it's called Swift, and it'll
mm,
take you up to 3 days to send money,
mm,
to being able to send money by cryptocurrency or
mm,
stable coins.
mm,
Now, I think because of the fact that we can see
mm,
cash is like, in terms of, when I say cash, I mean like physical cash.
mm,
Everything is all electronic. It's all done by card.
mm.
You know, you can you can literally go into a shop and use your phone to pay for things now. You don't even have to use cash anymore.
Right.
So we know that things are moving forward and we're moving into a more digital space. So if you don't move with the times, you're gonna get left behind. So that's the first thing. And like technology is moving forward. You know, I mean, like for like like there was the whole controversy about 5G towers and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
That technology is necessary for things like the grid, like that you're going to use for driverless cars. You can't do that on 4G.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
I mean, that's where we're moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, I think, I'm the type of person that embraces technology. You know, and I think that I think digital currency is, you know, a lot of people ask what it is. In simple terms, I'll explain it like this. The old traditional types of finance is centralized. You have a bank. The bank keeps all the data, all the information, all the money. The blockchain is basically it's DeFi, decentralized finance. So all it really means is that you're taking power away from gatekeepers. Now, if we're talking about the music industry, I think that's a brilliant thing.
Yeah.
Because if you say
it caught on like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. I think I like
because
that.
Because what I like about the technology, blockchain technology, is that it's not just about having coins that you can buy or sell or trade. You can actually use the networks for different things. There's a lot of different things you can use them for. So, for example, if you look at streaming right now, like I mentioned this in the post, 80% of streaming revenue is probably, basically 80% is what the labels, the mega publishers, the management, and just the machine, that's what it swallows up. And then maybe 12 is what is left for the artists. Now, these are the people who've created the content that has just been monetized. They're already on the short end of the stick because of the structure of the way that the music industry works. The contracts are bad, you know, it's just a whole lot of not and obviously not for everybody, but in general, like the way that a record contract is structured, it's not structured for the artist to win, it's structured for the label to win. Obviously, because they take and you know, if you look at it from a business point of view, it makes sense because they're taking on the risk. So we get that. But you know, like if let's say you're an artist like V, and you've been doing your thing, you're not a new artist anymore. You have your audience, your core audience. You should be in control of everything. You should be in control of your masters. You should be in control of the whole supply chain. Because at the end of the day, and I mean, that's what made him successful. That he managed to do that. Like from you know, when he was pressing records, he controlled everything from pressing the record to the street team that sold it. That's smart. Because you've cut out every single other person that's going to have their hands in your pocket. That's clever. Now, you can do that with blockchain technology because of the fact that you don't have to have a record label. You know, and in terms of being paid more often, you can get paid because usually artists get paid every 6 months. You have to wait because they have to collect your royalties. But you know, with something like blockchain, with cryptocurrency, you can get paid immediately. As soon as somebody pays you, you get paid. So you see, this is what's happening at the moment. Everything's becoming decentralized. So obviously, like when that happens, when you build something, you have to destroy something else. So you're taking money away from people. So obviously they're going to hold on to this. You know what I mean? So I think at the moment, I can see there being a little bit of a tug of war, but I think in terms of being an artist, this is one of the best times. This is actually, in my opinion, this is the best time to be in the music industry. You don't have to sign a record deal. You have very low overheads. When we shot our video, it cost 200,000 rand cash. So that's like 20,000, and that's in 2003. That's a big budget. When we got those chops, I mean the shots over Johannesburg.
I mean, you were pushing your music though.
But this is it. But like when we got those aerial shots over Joburg, we were in a helicopter. It wasn't a drone. Now you can get a drone. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like the
I
cost
hear
of,
what you say. Yeah.
you know what I mean? The cost of getting into it is just, it's cheap. You can literally cut out all of the people that used to be the gatekeepers.
Mm,
So now, as long as you've got some talent and you can build up
mm,
a following online,
mhm,
you can actually probably do better than what labels can do for you. That's why a lot of the new guys, they don't sign deals, and I would advise people not to sign.
yeah.
I don't think you should.
I
You
mean,
know,
even the legends like Master P. Master P. He did his thing by himself, right?
definitely.
He
I
just
mean,
put.
that's one of the guys that I think I like.
Tyler Perry did
Master
the same thing
Master
too.
P. You know,
Yeah.
that type of mentality.
Mhm, mhm.
That's the mentality that you need to do, because at the end of the day, look. Um, I mean, look, Anita Baker right now,
I need
she's
to be.
fighting for control of her
I think
masters.
I
Okay,
read something like that
you read
yesterday.
that?
Yeah.
Look, now
Mhm,
now she's saying to people, look, don't buy my music, don't stream it, because at
mhm,
the end of the day, she's not getting paid for that. Now, after 35 years, the copyright is supposed to revert to the original composer, but they're
mm,
not going to give it to you for free, because when you own a master,
mhm,
that's why it's called a master. It's like it's generational money. And this is the problem. Like if
mm,
we if we go deeper, I'm sure I'd be surprised
mm,
to find out who actually owns their masters, even in South Africa.
mm,
Like even when we talk about Kwaito legends,
mm,
and some of the music that we grew up on, you
mm,
know, when that music goes onto Spotify, who's getting paid? You know,
mm,
that's the question. And you see, this is why the whole issue about masters and who owns them is such a pertinent thing, because right now we're living in the streaming era. There's a lot of money flying about. So it depends who actually controls it. So I would encourage any artist to try, and definitely you got to spend some money.
mhm,
You have to be patient,
mhm,
and you have to be original.
mm,
You know, you can ride the wave if you want, but
mhm,
that's not going to get you that far.
mhm,
So the only way that you're going to be able to really, even just to break through, it's very difficult, because there's so many people
mm, mhm,
trying to do exactly what you're trying to do.
mm.
It's like being in a club and there's 500 dudes trying to talk to the same hot girl. You need to stand out. You know what I
Right.
mean? You need to be a lot. You need to come a lot better than the last
Yeah.
499 who failed,
Uh,
because otherwise, it's not going to work.
yeah. I was talking to somebody the other day because I'm just starting my YouTube channel. He was like,
Okay.
okay, you do a lot of stuff on Pan Africanism, but there's a lot of people who are doing stuff on Pan Africanism. You gotta have to find a way to really not sink, right? You know, because it's tough to break through, man.
And
But
like what you said,
originality, originality, just like you're saying, quality, as like you're saying, right?
I think that I think is very important as well,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, this is for music, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and for musicians. I think it's very important that like when I used to listen to music when I was young, I used to want to go to a place.
Mm-hmm.
So the artist would take me to a place. They take me into their world. So if I
Mm-hmm.
was listening to Bounty Killer,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be in Kingston. If I was listening to Ice Cube,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be in LA. And that's what I think you need to do. And I think it's important that as well. And I used to say this 20 years ago, that if you're going to make a song and you're going to
Mm-hmm.
use American slang,
Mm-hmm.
what are you teaching them? You're not teaching them anything. They're not gonna. They don't want to. And this is the problem. A lot of our artists, and obviously I get it. They listen to American hip hop, so it influences them. But you can't give them what they already have.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because, like, what are they supposed to do with that? They
Yeah.
got 500,000 other people in America trying to do that, trying to copy stuff. So I think if you come with some originality, look at how Nigerian music broke through.
Mm.
I have a friend of mine who,
Mm.
my business partner actually,
Mm.
Carlos Pimentel,
Okay.
entertainment lawyer, 25 years in the
Uh-huh.
game. He was in the legal department at Loud Records, where
Mm-hmm.
Wu Tang, Mob Deep, and
Yeah,
all of
yeah,
them
yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he told me
Okay, cool.
about
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah about and I'll get into some projects I'm doing with him.
Mm,
So he told me about maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
mm,
He said, "Look, I've just come out of a meeting at Capitol in LA.
mm,
These guys are going to start signing Afrobeat artists, and within a couple of years,
mm.
people started getting signed because they're original, because
Mm.
they don't sound like what is already there in America. You know,
Ah, man, I think you should cut a class on this one.
you know, it's funny you say that because when Carlos and I were invited to my
Mm,
sect, Ministry of Youth and Sports and Culture, they invited us to um, the second annual film festival. So
okay.
we actually went out there end of 2019, and it was great. Carlos had never been to. He's Dominican. He's Black
Okay.
Dominican.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he'd never been to Africa. So
Right. Okay. Cool.
he
Yeah.
came to Botswana,
Mm.
and they even named him Gabo. Like
Wow.
the yeah, Mr. Ramugat, they actually called him
No,
Gabo. Like
Gabo,
the
Gabo is a good name. It is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He actually said no, no, no.
Yeah.
You're Gabo now. So he loved that, and
Yeah.
we
Okay.
went out there and we actually did do some classes with some I think they were university kids,
Hmm.
and I was telling them, I was saying, look, it's very important that
Hmm.
you actually do that. They're they are just I don't know. I think yeah, it would be good as a class actually to try and do that.
No, yeah, I think it'll be good as a class, as a seminar, whatever it is.
Yeah, just even a webinar. Just
Yeah, webinar and all that kind of stuff. And I think people like you should be brought. I'm not going to talk a lot about this because I don't want to get
yeah,
into politics, but I think people like you who've been doing this for a long time, who know our culture, who know Africa. I think these are the people who are supposed to be brought in. And I'm not bashing nobody who's been brought out of United States to come and talk about what
I
they're
know.
doing. You know what I mean? But I think will be more beneficial if somebody like you can go over there and establish something.
You know,
Um,
I would love to do that because I think
yeah,
for me, legacy is important, and I
yeah.
would like I would like to I'm like I said earlier, my son's turning
You
21
got a
this
lot of
year.
wisdom, man.
And like that's I feel that now is my
Yeah,
job to
right.
impart wisdom. Like
Yeah,
that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to try and help
mm,
in whichever way I can, And
yeah.
I think definitely educating people, that's one of the major keys.
Right,
One of the
right,
major keys.
right, right. Man, I thought about something. You also mentioned Nigel,
Yes. Our brother Nige.
our brother Nige.
Yeah, man. He's
Yeah. Uh,
I really like
I
that
think
kid.
he can get gold this year. What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like Nigel's he's an amazing
Mm,
person. He's yeah, he is. And like the other day I was a little bit annoyed when they were
mhm.
telling him he should sell his medal and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, you
Yeah.
see, there you guys go again. You guys are the type of people that, when someone dies in the family, you want to start selling properties and liquidating stuff. Why do people always do that?
Mm,
This get money now mentality. You
mm,
got to be patient. You know, like I said in my post, that medal is not just a piece of metal; it's a piece of history. And you know what he achieved. Only three people in history have done that.
mm,
One of them in this country was knighted. He was called Sir Sebastian Coe for doing exactly what Nigel did. He's
mm,
now Lord Coe, and it pains me that you know there are no billboards all over Botswana with Nigel's face. He should have been. This is just my personal opinion, and it's no.
mm.
I'm not as well. I'm not trying to throw anything against anybody, but I just think
Right.
he's not. He's not. We don't celebrate our own people enough. Especially, I mean, what more should the guy do? This is not the InterVarsity Games. It's the
Right.
Olympics. Okay,
Hmm.
it's the first medal that the country's ever had. Nah, I don't think. I don't think that's right. I think a lot more should be done. I think this is personally what I want to say as well to the corporates out there, and I'm gonna look into the camera.
Mm,
I want to say shame on all of you
mm,
because you know when are you gonna support a person? Now you don't support the guy on his way to the Olympics. You don't support the guy at the Olympics. The guy wins the silver medal, first medal in the history of the country.
that's huge, man.
Come on. You know what I like about Americans?
Yeah.
I lived in Atlanta for about a year,
Mm,
and in America,
mm.
you could be like, and they'll call you the world champion, and it's only Americans competing. It's only they take sports so seriously. You could be the
Right,
world champion
right,
tiddlywinks player, or I don't know, whatever it is. You know what I mean? But if you win a gold medal in the States, they're gonna or any type of Olympic medal, you're gonna be a big deal.
Oh, you're a big deal.
Of course.
Huge.
And
Yeah,
I know that we're talking about completely different type of country and all that kind of
yeah.
stuff, but just in terms of appreciation,
Mm,
yeah, I just think we don't appreciate Nigel enough. And I think especially considering he was
mm,
not trained, like some of these sports to get into, as you know, it costs a lot
mm,
of money to get
mhm,
into athletics.
mhm,
And you have to have natural ability. Currently we're doing a documentary
mm.
on Nigel and
Okay.
yeah, on his story, like on the road to the Olympics. And
Yeah.
one of his trainers in Oregon, he
Mhm,
said, this kid doesn't even have an orthodox style. It's unorthodox.
mm,
But and that even that, he's I don't think people really appreciate just
mm,
how difficult it is to do
mm,
what he does. And and think about it. He was 17 years old, 18, he gets thrust into the spotlight. There's no
mm,
manual, there's
mm,
no PR, there's
mhm,
nothing. This is
mhm.
just a kid from Marabella who
Yeah.
ran his way to the podium. You know what I mean? I mean, for me, it's an amazing. I was terrible at sports at school, so
Right.
whenever I see athletics or people good at athletics,
Mm,
because I think it's very mental. Yes, it's
mhm,
physical sport, but it's all
mm,
about endurance and your
mm,
mindset, and being a champion. Like it's hard to put it into words, but
mm,
the fact that he actually sat down and said, you know what, I'm gonna go for this and I'm gonna get it, and he did it and he achieved it.
mm, mm.
We should be rolling the red carpet out for the kid. That's what I
Man,
think. You
man.
know, we should
Yeah,
we should really be rolling it out for him.
yeah. No, I brought him in. He was one of the people that I interviewed, I think, like, last year around October or
Yeah,
so.
and he's a
And
great kid.
he's a
Great
great kid,
energy.
man. He's
Great
a great
energy,
kid,
man.
man. You need
He's
the energy. You just
he's
can
always
feel
happy. Nigel, like you can't be angry around Nigel because he's so
no,
positive and
man.
he's just so happy.
Yeah, he's a great kid, man. We're gonna support him. We're gonna support him.
Have to.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
I just hope, look, whoever the powers that be, please,
Mm,
let's just do what we have to do. And even that whole thing about the medal and him maybe
mm.
having to sell it or even considering selling it, that should spur people into action. Somebody should have stood up and said, no, we can't let that happen. You know what I mean? This
Right.
is,
Right.
he did it for the country. I mean, look, Botswana's never been to war, but I'm sure winning an Olympic medal is the closest you can get. He went to war for his country, man, on the field. So we need to salute the guy. That's what I think.
He's wonderful, man. He's wonderful.
Yeah.
So during the riots after the brutal murder of George Floyd, did
Mhm.
you feel maybe justice and equality could be possible, or at least heading in the right direction? I mean, we have seen the pulling down of the statue of Christopher Columbus, right, in
Mhm.
Virginia,
Yeah.
to the English part city of Bristol, where a
Mhm.
statue of the 17th century slave trader Edward Colston, who played a leading role in the company that trafficked, can you imagine, 80,000 African men, women, and children into slavery?
You
And
know,
that was pulled off, and dumped into the harbor, right? So what was
mhm.
going on in your mind at that time, Ralph?
I'll be honest with you, I was pissed off because I
Hmm.
said to myself, am I gonna have to tell my kids what my
Hmm.
grandparents told me, that they were protesting and marching and picketing? If I'm being honest with you, I'm
Hmm.
actually of I'm tired of that sort of action. I want real action. I want collective action. I've never seen there's a lot of I'm not gonna even mention them, but there's a lot of communities that have been discriminated against over the years and persecuted. You don't see them marching. They don't they don't go out there. They don't hashtag anything.
Right.
They get together and they act. They put their money together. They put their resources together. They move as a unit. We running up and down in the street making noise. I'm tired of seeing stuff like that. And it doesn't do anything. Yeah, you pull down a statue, but what does that do? You
Mm.
know, people
Mm.
kneeling all over the place. What are they really doing? What's
Mm.
changing? You
Mm.
know,
Mm.
yeah, you can kneel. All of that is symbolic.
Okay.
What we're fighting is systemic. You cannot give me symbolic solutions to a systemic problem. That's not going to free me. It's gonna give me the illusion of freedom,
Right.
and it smells like what it's always been. You know what I'm saying? I can smell it, and so you can smell it. We can smell it.
Right.
We
Right.
know what it is. So
No, but
we're living in this fantasy of, oh yeah, things
yeah.
are great because Kanye and Kim got married. Look, man, people think that that's equality.
Mm.
People think that that means things have changed. It doesn't. Things need to change for things to change. And what I mean is this: you mentioned Colson
Mm.
and Bristol. I
Mm.
mean, look, Liverpool, big slave trading center.
Mm-hmm.
England. I mean, I said Britain monopolized the triangular trade.
Mm-hmm.
When they abolished slavery, they didn't just wake up one day and say, you know what, we're going to free these black people.
Mm.
Just like how de Klerk never woke up one day and said, hey, I'm going to let Mandela out of prison.
Mm.
It was economic reasons that
Mm.
both of those things happened. With slavery, the 40,000 British people who owned the 800,000 Africans at the
Mm.
time, I think this
Mm.
is like 1807, no, about 1831 when they finally abolished it. Yeah, it
Mm.
was around 1800. I think it's 1830.
Mm-hmm.
Those 40,000 people
Mm-hmm.
were paid the equivalent of at the time it was 20 million pounds, because that was the deal. Because remember, this is a business. It's not. Remember, I said before, slavery and colonialism; those were economic endeavors. They just used racism and race and racial subjugation and all of that kind of stuff to
Mm.
justify it. So they
Mm.
said, okay, look, we will free them, but you need to pay us.
Mm.
We ain't just gonna what? What I'm supposed to give up my income? This is my revenue stream. So the government said, all right, cool. They paid them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's a record. There's an actual record online that you can check. You can even check the names.
Mm-hmm.
And why that's important is because a lot of the time people say, "Oh, slavery was a long time ago. Why are you talking about it?"
Mm.
Because everything gets passed down and it trickles down. Money, attitudes, all different types of things get passed down from generation to generation.
Mm.
Black people pass down trauma.
Mm.
White people have been passing down money. So if we go back to when they
Say
freed the
that
slaves,
again. Say that again.
black people
Mm-hmm.
from generation to generation, they
Uh-huh.
pass down trauma.
There you
That's
go.
what they that's what they give their children.
Mm-hmm.
Trauma, issues,
It's
all kinds of
generational.
shit. It's
Mm-hmm.
generational.
Mm-hmm.
Not all white people, but a lot of white people,
Mm-hmm.
they pass down wealth.
Yeah.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
what you're supposed to do. You're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to give your kids a start. Now, if we rewind it back to when slaves were actually freed, and you say to yourself, okay, so where did that 20 million pounds go? There's an actual register of every single name, and there's 40,000. They tell you exactly how much they got, and they tell you when they got the money.
Mm.
And a lot of the times, you can even follow the trail of the money to see what happened. What did the slaves get? They didn't get anything. Now, what does that mean? 20 million pounds back then in 18, I can't remember the year.
Mm.
They said it would be about 17 billion pounds today. So whenever people say, "Oh, slavery was a long time ago," say, "All right, pay back the money then." If it doesn't mean anything and it was a long time ago, what do you think happened to all that money? What did it do? It created wealth. A lot of people um, a, a lot of people left this country, went to Africa, went to the Caribbean, and they came back rich. So they
Mm-hmm.
bought their way into society. They gave money, they bought peerages, they bought titles. They legitimized their wealth. The records are there. So you can't say that slavery was a long time ago and we should forget about it, because some people were compensated, but some people were not. Many people have been compensated. After World War II, the Jewish people were compensated for their persecution, and rightly so. You
Mm.
know,
Mm.
I don't think anybody would have the cheek to say to them, it was a long time ago, we should
Mm.
forget about it, let's stop crying.
Mm.
No,
Mm.
you can't do that. So, you know, I just think it's time that, you know, when you see these injustices that happen, how can you fight them? You need money. You can't fight them in the streets, running up and down, raising your fist and shouting at cameras. That's not going to change the situation. The only thing that will change the situation, first of all, like Garvey said, we need to unite, get together, form a base,
Right.
and you need an economic foundation. You know, you can't. There's no way that we're going to be able to elevate anything if we don't control, um, you know, own banks, own supply chains of food. You need schools first of all. I mentioned schools earlier. Look at the amount of schools that we have in Botswana. We send children to school hoping that they're going to get a better education. What do they come out with? What happens to those kids who go to school in SA, go to school, these very expensive private schools? You're sending kids to go out there to regurgitate facts, you know, and regurgitate Shakespeare and European history. What is that doing? What is that teaching them? They're not learning how to think critically. They're learning how to be well-spoken workers. That needs to change. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not going to work. Otherwise, we're just going to be in the same cycle. And then my kids are going to tell my grandkids, you know what? Your granddad used to tell us, his granddad used to tell him. And nah, I think, you know, we need some sort of collective action if anything's going to change. Otherwise, the next time something happens, it's going to be the same old go out protest and then nothing changes.